about $400,000 worth of molybdenate every day. And you have a huge discharge of molybdenum on a daily basis in a given system. And those of us who know a little bit about this chemistry would recognize that there's a natural antagonism between molybdenum and copper. And if you have high discharge of high concentrations of molybdenum, the copper incorporation into the food chain and life system becomes very weak. And then the people living in those areas will suffer from a connective tissue disorder. So it is extremely important for us to eliminate this problem once and for all. And I said that I will fund the research to make this problem, let me say, solved. And I believe the industry is very happy to find the necessary resources to absorb them as well. I therefore would like to say still that is an unsolved problem. And therefore, there is a slightly different kind of challenge, and the challenge is not just the resource. It's not the finding resource, it's the research resource, it's beyond that. And we hope to use such occasions as this to bring together the knowledge domain, the people who will solve and the people who need the solutions together, and build a strong program of research and applications in green chemistry in the years to come. Of course, when we say that there is an opportunity for this engagement, we also have to remember the responsibility for this engagement. It's an opportunity is only for us, but the responsibility is the society that is in this process. And we have some sectors, pharmaceutical, for example, the textile, which is very seriously challenged, and particularly in Tamil Nadu, both textile and many water-intensive industries have to comply with the zero liquid discharge norm. Essentially, what they do is to get the process liquid waste and apply a reverse osmosis and recover the water, and the concentrated reject stream is evaporated, and then they don't know what to do with it because it's a solid, it's a dissolved solid matter. Now, it's a very energy-intensive process, and I don't think that's the way that one should solve the problem. The solution to the problem in avoiding the waste in the first place. And the green chemistry principles that both my friend Professor Anastas and one will talk about, the 12 principles that will talk about avoiding the waste in the first place. And waste is truly to be presented as a disused resource of high value. And how do we get a value out of that resource is an issue that we must address. And I believe sectors like textile and the pharmaceutical in this country, to a certain extent dye industry, could benefit a great deal by the strong synergies in this green chemistry practitioners and ourselves. And I like to request this group as a follow-up of this wonderful workshop that you have, let us draw some actions. Those working for the government generally are accused of speaking without actions. Of course, we are a secretary, that's the problem. But what happens is those of us who serve as a secretary have an advantage. We can advise without taking responsibility for actions. But in this particular case, as somebody who had put green chemistry into practice for a while and gone through the pains and pangs of getting this in this process, I wish to leave a set of requests to the people who are assembled here today in terms of follow-up process. I would like to enroll a set of very serious industrial houses who are ready to take that extra length, extra mile to find applications of green chemistry together and get that consortium in this process And if we can find within them a sectoral clusters, the clusters of particular type of industry, to the challenges which are somewhat common. I would like to get together something like 15 to 20 such industrial houses, go from this workshop to the next step of actually trying it out somewhere. And if that is done, for those sectors, I take the responsibility of trying to bring some scientific groups in both in the public domain and perhaps the kind of academic groups that I have, and give them the task of actually developing a project for finding the solutions to the problems. The usual idea of solving all the imaginary problems in the laboratory and looking for applications. Let us reverse this and look for solutions for the problems that are already identified in some locations. And if that were to happen, I assure you that I will revitalize the program of process research initiative for zero emission and fund the research part in those institutions from the government end. Let me try and see whether my sister department of Ministry of Environment and Forest can partner with this process. And I understand that this Nitish Mehta is a very clever guy. He called me for the morning and called Jairam Ramesh, the Minister for Environment, for the evening. So he gets all the good dinner and good time. And but since he would have a good time, I'm going to ask him, tell him that it's going to cost you something, pay some money as well. That from the as an outcome of this first industrial green chemistry workshop, there should be some tangible and traceable action in the course of time. And in that respect, let me assure you full support from the Department of Science and Technology in a shorter time base rather than the longer time base. Sometimes if you have too long a time, then one doesn't see the benefit of this process as well. And I'm aware that some of the very best of minds in the world have assembled here in this area of green chemistry. I had participated in a green chemistry workshop a few years ago, before I joined the department. There were 13 speakers, and other than me and the chief guest, 11 of them had used the two principles that my colleagues on two sides of the table were presenting. So they were actually living there in the meeting. They were quoted continuously. So I know that the popes are here, and you'll be baptized. The question here is, after baptizing, where there is a spiritual movement of green chemistry and in its applications. And from the government, in terms of the support, we assure you, let me hope that this workshop is something that we can celebrate for what it produced, apart from the good camaraderie, the results on ground as well. Thank you very much for this opportunity.